In her 38-page dissent, Justice Sotomayor wrote, "Today the court, for the first time in its history, grants a business open to the public a constitutional right to refuse to serve members of a protected class." What do you make of the dissent's argument, Jeannie?
Well, I've been pretty disturbed, first of all, just by the way in which that sentence that you read from Sotomayor and then the way that people have described this decision makes it sound like the Supreme Court said you can just be turned away if you go into a store because you're gay. And that's just not what the Supreme Court said. And I think it's pretty disturbing that lots and lots of people, including on the left and the right, are kind of describing it this way. And it's just not accurate. And I don't like the fact that Sotomayor expressed in her dissent that that's what the Supreme Court said.
So, Jeannie, when the AP says, puts out a headline like "in a defeat for gay rights," or, Axios, PBS, CNN, The Daily Beast all characterize this ruling as one that, quote, limits LGBTQ protections, is that just inaccurate?
I don't think it's inaccurate to say it limits LGBTQ protections. That I wouldn't go that far. But I think it is inaccurate to say after this decision, now it's open season on turning people away from stores or from anyone who just doesn't want to do business or serve gay people. That's just plain inaccurate. And I think it's dangerous. And the idea that lots and lots of gay people and gay kids, I have several, are going to be told that. So I'm not happy about that messaging at all. But I also want to say that I don't think this was an easy case. I don't think it was a slam dunk in either direction. I happen to agree with the lower court that this would survive strict scrutiny because of the compelling state interest in anti-discrimination. But at the same time, I understand. But I also think that a lot of it depends on who the specific people are and what religions they are. Like if you ask a bunch of people, at least people I know, is it okay for a kosher caterer to say, I am not going to cater your wedding because this is an intermarriage between a non-Jew and a Jew, even though one family is Jewish and the other is not? We don't approve of that kind of marriage, right? So this is kind of a little bit more on all fours because it's about a marriage. And if the kosher caterer says, I will do any other event that you want to do, but I will not do an interfaith wedding because that's just not something that I approve of. I don't even think of it as a real wedding. That would be closely related. And I myself have always, I've heard of those situations and I always thought of that as completely okay and plausible and within the, free exercise rights and the free speech rights of the caterer, even though it didn't specifically involve as much expression as even a web designer. I think it's the sympathies all shift because this is about gay people. Mm-hmm. Do you have a real right to not be discriminated against on the basis of your interfaith marriage status? Well, not as much. You could make that argument that being discriminated on the basis of your gay marriage status is actually more upsetting, disturbing, and discrimination than being discriminated against on other bases, like being a Trump supporter or whatever. That's not a protected category.